To Everbox Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Montrose's debut album. It's released October 17th, 1973 in the US. I think it came out in Europe in 74. Hugely influential album. It's a type of album that musicians buy and then tell their musicians' mates to buy. Eventually it went platinum in the US, but initially when it came out, Warner Bros. Didn't really know what to do with Montrose. They had the Doobie Brothers on the label. Maybe Deep Purple were on Warner Bros. In the US, I'm not sure. But for some reason they just, like I said, didn't know what to do. So they only charted about 130 in the US. Their albums after that charted a little better, but Sammy Hagar only stayed around for one more album. So lined up on this album is Denny Carmassi on drums, Bill Church on bass, Ronnie Montrose on guitar, Sammy Hagar on vocals. I think what's interesting about this, they're all about the same age. They're all about 25, 26. So although they're not old, they're a little older than bands typically, making their first album. And I think that probably helped them. They've probably been around the circuit a bit, like Ronnie Montrose would play with Edgar Winter. And it meant they were kind of more studio proficient, and it was easier for Ted Templeman and Don Landy of Van Halen fame to capture their sound. I think this album's a dry run for Van Halen 1. Aerosmith's debut album comes out early 73, but that's not as heavy as this. And then Kiss is early 74, their debut. So this is the first American hard rock album. People say the first American heavy metal album. It's not heavy metal. It's hard rock, and it's pure American hard rock. And that's, with Ted Nugent coming out in 75, this type of sound is what will pass, and ZZ Top as well, the types of riffs they do. This is what will pass as like kind of hard rock until Van Halen, and Van Halen will continue that, American metal kind of heavy metal kind of comes a little later, I think. Although you could argue Riot have some metal elements. But the opening track's Rock the Nation. I think this kind of sets out its stall. In this instance, the guitar is panned to the left side, a la Van Halen 1. But later on in the album, there is double tracking, and that's when the guitars get really big. But the riff's just your classic kind of riff of these type. He's playing double stops on the A and D, and then D and G, fret 7, then fret 5, and fret 7 on D and G, and then he moves up 2 frets. And this type of riff is the kind of riff you'll hear ZZ Top use, and Ted Nugent and so on, and Kiss. And then this will find its influence all the way through to New Wobham as well. I've famously Iron Maiden covered I Got the Fire, which is a track on the Paper Money album, the second Montrose album. Yeah, Rock the Nation's a great track. You can't go into much detail on these songs. Everything's straight ahead. It's bass, drums, guitar, vocals, maybe a little overdub guitar part here and there. It was actually recorded at Sunset Sound Recorders, and he did some overdubs at some place called Wally Hedder Studios in San Francisco. So Sunset Sound Recorders were all over Warner Brothers. Ted Templeman, Don Landy stuff was done. It's only 32 minutes and 22 seconds long, this album. So the second track's 3 minutes and 41. It's a track people will know well. It's Bad Motor Scooter. So this track first came to my attention in 1980 when Warner Brothers, on the back of the New Wobham, issued 7-inch singles in special packaging. There's Van Halen Running with the Devil with DOA on the B-side. And I think they did 2 Montrose ones. There was Bad Motor Scooter with I Don't Want It on the B-side, which we had, my family, my brothers and I think they did Space Station number 5 as well. Maybe it had Rock Candy on the B-side of Rock the Nation, or the other way around. Not sure. So this track's got the famous motorbike noise that Ronnie Montrose accomplishes with a slide. And it's really cool, actually. You can't kind of tell it's a slide. I think the guitars are double tracked on this. When I listened to it today, actually, it's pretty harsh production on this particular track. I had to turn it down. I know the mastering, but it's quite busy. But when he goes for the solo, he's using a neck pickup tone. He gets a really thick Les Paul tone, which he's used a Fender Bandmaster amp and a big muffled fuzz box. Again, it's just straight ahead. Ronnie Montrose, I think people kind of think he's this kind of technical guitarist, pre-Van Halen player. But when you listen to his playing on this album, he's using pentatonic major, pentatonic minor, blues scale, and like the odd little kind of Dorian type bluesy lick, and it's just pretty much exactly what players are using at that time. I think the difference with it is he's got that Californian American tone. Like British guitarists don't sound like American guitarists, even though they're playing similar notes and phrases. He doesn't, although he's playing similar things that Jimmy Page might play, or Beck or Clapton or those guys, he doesn't sound like that. It hasn't got that sound. It's the sort of tone that's, you're meant to have an open top car in the sunshine. That's how it feels to me. Track 3, Space Station number 5. So this is 5 minutes 18, but a minute of that's taken up with a really cool intro, which is using various guitar effects. There's a really nice E5, big E5 chord at the start, and acoustic and harmonics, and then there's various kind of pick scrape noises and getting your plectrum down the strings, and it kind of comes together in a nice sort of mellow cacophony, if that's possible. Then it goes into the main track, which is really catchy. So the rhythm to this, the sort of tempo and feel, it's Communication Breakdown by Led Zeppelin, and I think Led Zeppelin 1 and 2, those types of tracks are the part of the DNA of this band. Not Led Zeppelin 3 or 4, all the acoustic stuff. It's taking the straight ahead tracks that like a band like Zepp did, and it's just rocking them up. So that's a classic track, and then I Don't Want It finishes side 1. This is 2 minutes 58. This has got a kind of dumba kind of slow type of feel. Kind of this riff actually was not ripped off, it's copied by Saxon for a track called Red Line. If you listen to Red Line off Power and Glory, this riff to I Don't Want It is similar, so they are 10 years later, it appearing in a sort of progressed new album sound. Good track. That was side 1. Like I say, I mean, if I had a criticism of this album, it's not like massively depth or varied. It's just very direct. It's just got good vocals, bass, drums, guitar. Sometimes guitar's a double track, sometimes a bit of extra slide or lead, but it's just kind of simple and done really well, and that's why it's so popular, effective. Next track's a cover of Good Rockin' Tonight. I forget who wrote this originally. This works really well. Again, preempting the Van Halen thing of making a cover your own. His guitar playing is really good. This has got his best soloing on this, and those elements I was talking about before with his note choices, his best illustrated on this. Then you've got another long track, Rock Candy, 5 minutes and 5. Quite surprised that this track is that long. This is probably one of the key, if not the key, Montrose track. This is where the guitars are double tracked. It's got big D5, A5 chords. You've got the E, a type of riff like Queen will copy on Now I'm Here, So it predates that. The guitars are big. The drums, when it starts off, you can hear like the sound in the room. It's got a really big, fat, bassy snare, and you can hear the air moving on the kick drum. And then it's got a classic 70s bass sound. Bill Church has got where, you've got loads of warmth and it's really fat. It's got less sort of clipness and treble and middliness that you get on later sort of sounds on albums. I'm guessing Grand Funk would be possibly a touchstone for Montrose and Mel Schachter's bass playing. I suppose they're the kind of hard rock band that predates Montrose. And I can't remember if I said it before, Aerosmith's album debut comes out early 73, but that's not as hard, hard rock like this is. And then Kisses is 74, Nugent's 75. So this is this is what American hard rock is going to be influenced and sounds like, going forward. So Rock Fan is a great track. Then you've got One Thing on My Mind. This is catchy again. Kind of got a similar groove to the Good Rockin' Tonight. And nice kind of chord inversions. Nice sort of backed off rhythm sound on that. And then it finished with Make It Last. This was a Hagar composition, and he used to play this live when he went solo, along with Bad Motor Scooter, and I think Space Station number 5. Again, this is 5:31, so it's quite interesting. You've got these 3 tracks over 5 minutes. And then you've got these really short tracks, so quite interesting balance. This is a really cool track. Again, it's kind of predating Bad Company as well. I mean, Bad Company, an English band, but they kind of feel more American in some ways in sound. And I guess maybe Free was sort of an influence on. And The Who, obviously, definitely were an influence on Montrose. Like The Who, the kind of drum fills and the power chord things that they do. He does a kind of Doctor scream at one point, like Won't Get Fooled Again. So, yeah, this album's 50 years old. It's just hard to beat. It doesn't sound kind of 50 years old. It kind of sounds late 70s. The production's not quite polished enough to be kind of early 80s or very late 70s, but, but it wasn't to be for Montrose. Like I say, Hagar left after the second album. Ronnie Montrose went on with a couple more singers. He sung himself. Then he did Gamma and so on. Hagar obviously had a pretty successful solo career and went on to mega success with Van Halen. Montrose, check it out. Please feel free to share and subscribe. And thanks for checking out this video. Bye now.